The biggest mistake is that we don't know what the result or outcome or goal is of the parenting style we choose. We are not clear enough about it, and we link it to something that prevents us from being successful. And I'm going to be talking about how to overcome that mistake so that you can actually be successful at whatever style of parenting that you choose. You're listening to the Bear in Mind Podcast, episode 144.
A podcast that breaks it down so you can break the cycle for good. Now, your host, Tara Rama, but you can call her T.
So when I work with parents about stop yelling, and they often start out with, they don't want to ruin their kid because they have created a link between their parents or how they were raised was with a lot of anger, with a lot of yelling, and a lot of behaviors that they don't want to carry on. And they think that this will ruin their kid because they themselves have faced some adversity because they're linking their adversity today to how that they were raised. And if you're wondering about the generational cycle, I talk about that in episode 142. It's how to break the generational cycle. So I talk a little bit more about that. Here I'm going to talk about this mistake, which in this example is clear. I don't want to ruin my child, therefore I'm going to do gentle parenting, which is a slang term for, I think, authoritative parenting style. And whatever parenting style, I'm not here to argue. Gentle parenting is a parenting style where most people want to, where they want to stop yelling and find another way of disciplining their kid. And so when we're talking about that mistake is that we are linking the result, the outcome of the style to the wrong person. We are linking it to our kid, to our children. We are saying that if gentle parenting works, our kid will not be ruined. And there's two things. One is you're linking it to another person, so you're constantly going to look at your child and their behaviors and judge that behaviors as if something is not working or working in your parenting style. And two, ruin your kid. For each parent, that means something different. And so getting clear about what you mean about that will also help sort out the goal of a behavior you want to change. You want to be more of a gentle parent. You want to parent. You don't want to yell, and be more clear on your reasons of doing that. And you will then, when you're clear there, will reach your outcome, the result that you want in this behavioral change. And we make this pitfall a lot in parenting, is that we want to parent a different way. We want to parent our own way. And then we search for that validation if something is working and not working, and we're searching for it in another person. Now, as I'm saying that, it sounds a little weird, but I do it. And I can think of a time when my daughter was younger and she was not walking at around the year mark. And people kept asking me, family members are like, is she walking it? Is she walking it? And she actually didn't take her first step until she was 15 months. So an extra 3 months after the 1 year mark. And it was one of those things like, oh, I'm not doing something right. And I'm linking at her ability and some of these milestones we have. There's a lot of them, like sleeping through the night, or they socialize, how well they adapt to daycare or school. All of these things, there's these kind of things in society, but then also we have taken it on personally or adjusted them in our heads. Like, this needs to happen. My child needs to sleep through the night by this age or sleep in their own room by this age. We link that behavior of our child, their ability to do something or their lack of their ability to do something, and that's the mistake. We link it to how we're parenting. And separating out those two is going to be so helpful in any sort of behavioral change that you're trying to make. However you're trying to parent, as soon as you can separate out any sort of results that your child creates, their grades, if they make a team sport, if they're good at sports, if they're good at reading, if they like to read, separating that out has nothing to do with your parenting. You're not a good or bad parent. You're not a good parent if your kid gets all good grades throughout all of their schooling. I don't think that. I don't think you're a bad parent either. So this idea that how our kid performs is related to how we perform as our parent is the biggest mistake, because it is so futile, and we will be looking for it when the children are grown up, when they're adults, if they have successful relationships, if they're able to have a good job. All of those things, that meter stick, that measurement stick, will need to keep changing, and we'll need to keep searching for that validation. And that is exhausting, and that makes parenting that much more difficult. And I see this where in some of the forums, people are saying, I have a gentle parenting win, as if this is a reflection. Now, it doesn't mean that you don't celebrate it. What I suggest you do is you look at how you show up and use that as your measurement rather than how your kid shows up. So this is how you can overcome it, is when you're really specific about something. And for example, I'll use the stop yelling, because that's why I'm here. It's about stop yelling. And you want to stop this behavior and be less angry in your life, because that's basically what I coach people on, is how to not have anger be the top 3 daily emotions that you have in your day-to-day life. And so when you look at that outcome is to stop yelling, but then there's another result. What is it that you want to do? What is it that what is the success that's tied to? Yes, there's no yelling. And then what is it that you want to do? What is it instead of yelling that you would like to do? And that is your measurement. So for example, for me, with stop yelling, yes, of course, I didn't want to yell, raise my voice beyond a certain decimal. What I wanted to be able to do was be present with my kids' emotions. And I was very specific. I wrote down specifically how I wanted to show up. I wanted to be focused. I wanted to have my mind clear, which means I'm not judging my child. I'm not judging myself. And I am focused on what is happening with my child and giving them space to allow their emotions. So this is what I wanted to do, because a lot of times I was yelling because of something that my kid was doing, and understanding what they were doing and focused and having a clear mind, which means only knowing what's happening in my mind and not judging that, not judging my kid. And that is how I measured my success as a parent. Is, can I consistently and frequently do this? It doesn't mean I don't yell. I still do yell. It's very rare. And when it does happen, I learn from it, and I learn something about myself. I gain understanding. I gain more understanding of who I am, and I then can course correct. So when we talk about certain parenting styles, that measurement is about how you are showing up and being really, really specific about what is it you want to do when you feel angry. Is it that you want to feel it and practice processing it? Sometimes there's shorter goals. I want to understand why I'm angry. I want to be able to process this emotion. I want to be able to process it and manage it faster. That was one of my goals at one point, is to be able to manage that anger faster so that I can choose the option of which to respond to somebody. And those are the type of goals. And I want you to notice that this is not everyday talk. People don't talk about parenting and measuring your goals with, I want a clear mind, meaning I'm recognizing what my thoughts are and I'm not judging them, and I'm being more mindful of those thoughts that are running through my mind as my kid is screaming through the supermarket. All of those things, we don't talk about that. I know my friends don't talk about this. Those are the goals that you can set for yourself and measure it and be successful. Engage yourself as time goes on, as you evolve in getting to know your emotions and understanding emotional regulation, is that is going to be your goal. That is going to be the result that you want. I show up this way as a parent. I show up this way in my relationship, because you can also look at it with your partner. How often do we argue? If you want to reduce the arguments, if you want to reduce yelling at your partner, how are you measuring your behaviors and linking that up instead of linking it to your partner or linking it to your child? And so when you can get really clear, and I'm going to wrap it up here, when you can get really clear about that goal and attaching that goal to a specific amount of behaviors that you own, then you're on your way to being successful in any relationship. That's all I have for you this week. I'll check back with you next.
Thanks for listening. Listen for a new episode next Tuesday by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. Bye for now.